Tshimologong Digital Innovation Precinct and the Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands in Pretoria have announced the call for entries for their Digital Twin Hackathon. Entries are open to 15 students from South Africa and 15 students from the Netherlands. The goal is to transform their hypotheses into theories and ultimately action. Now, to share more on this, we're joined on Zoom by Carol Jaji, Tshimologong Digital Skills Head. Carol, a very good morning to you. A warm welcome to Morning Live. I suppose let's start with a brief summary of what we are talking about when we are mentioning the hackathon. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for having me this morning. So what we're doing here is we're collaborating with the Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands to co-create a particular Hack My City, as we call it, strategy. So what happened is, just to give you a little bit of context, last year in November 2021, the embassy actually had a biennial event where they enthusiastically spoke about how digital twins as a technology or as a concept can be used in smart city innovations. So how we could actually have resilient cities that are digitized in simple terms. So with digital twins, what that does is it takes a physical object and then it replicates it into a digital form. So you have a city, for instance, that will be experiencing certain challenges, and then you try to identify those challenges through a replica of a digital object. And then you start, processing and testing. So the actual idea that came out of that was to just come together. And because the Dutch have been very instrumental over the last years in building up, and they have gone through great strides in building smart cities using digital twins. I mean, if you look at the city of Rotterdam, it's a very good example of that. So they came here to collaborate with us so that we bring this to life.
Now, let's talk about the 15 students. How does it work? The students from both countries?
Yes, so the hackathon is made up of 30 participants, 15 Dutch students, and then 15 South African students. So the criteria is the same for all students. We're looking for PhD and master students. We're not very particular about the type of, faculty or skill that they have. All we're looking at really is to identify problems and create solutions out of those problems. So far we have, registered quite an amazing group of young people from both countries who have varied, skills in different faculties and disciplines. So it's absolutely amazing to see how that is going to work out.
Yeah, I'm reading here that this could potentially solve problems that could change the narrative of municipalities in South Africa. I mean, tell us a little bit about that. Unpack that for us.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, initially the conversation, the reason why it was so interesting was because digital twins, you can actually solve problems. And at the core and context of that conversation was how economic development and policy tools could be developed using digital twins. How can we solve problems using technology and just ensuring that we have more efficient cities, we have economically viable cities, we also have cost-effective cities. So using that type of technology could literally have our cities becoming more resilient and working better than they are. If I give you an example, let's just say of traffic congestion, for instance, in the city of Johannesburg, how best can we solve that issue? So what we need to do now is to look at underlying issues around that. What is it that's causing those traffic congestions, and how can we use digital twins in form of prototyping or testing it on a digital platform to see what could be the solution to those congestions?
All right, what is the criteria for students to enter the hackathon?
So they have to be PhD students or master students. And like I said, initially, they could be multi-disciplines. We're not very stringent when it comes to the type of qualification or the type of skill or education that they're doing right now. But we are really looking at making it as flexible and scalable as possible in terms of how many people can come in and what skills they can offer us. And so far, we've had civil engineers joining the call. We've had, data scientists, So it's very varied and quite interesting to see.
And looking at the type of students that have entered, you've just touched on engineering students. What is the the difference in the students that are entering? What are you seeing in that? Is there a common thread? Tell us a little bit about the quality of students and entries that you've received so far.
So far, I think a large part of our students are in the build engineering environment, and we have a few computer scientists, which is actually interesting because we can use data, we can use digital twins for architectural and structural designs within the city. It looks at infrastructure as well as transportation, as well as policy making. So we are very interested to see how those skills that they've already got is going to be utilized in what you will normally dub to be a very technical field, because the digital twins technology uses quite a lot of technology. But you will have certain students who do not have a background in technology, but will still be able to embed their knowledge in what we're trying to do here.
Okay, so tell us what happens between now and the 7th of November, because I believe that's when the hackathon starts.
Yes, absolutely. So from now and up until the hackathon begins, we've been having quite a lot of consultation with different partners that we've worked with. COJ and JRA have been quite committed on this. I mean, we've worked with COJ quite a lot around smart innovation challenges within the city of Joburg. And JRA has been very instrumental in providing data sets, for instance, because when you create a digital twin, you need quite a lot of data to bring it about. So up until then, we will be discussing with our mentors. We have a group of mentors that are coming on board, both South African and from the Netherlands. And then we are hosting a webinar as well on the 31st of October from 2 to about 3:30 p.m. South African time. And the reason why we're hosting that webinar is because we also want to highlight the need and the value of digital twins. I know right now, South Africa, for instance, Africa in essence, is an early adopter of digital twins. And, the Netherlands have gone quite ahead of us. And so it's important that collaboration and co-creation happens. But at the core of that, it's also important for people to understand what digital twins are, because, it's unbecoming of us to just mention these terminologies without people knowing what it is. So we will be having that conversation on the 31st of October before the hackathon happens. And yeah, we're looking forward to it.
All right. Carol Jaji, thank you so much for talking to us this morning. She is the Tshimologong Digital Skills Head, and they're calling on for entries for their Digital Twin Hackathon that's happening from the 7th to the 11th of November.